Statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Russian Federation.
Mr. President, we thank the Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Tor Venesland, for the detailed briefing on the situation on the occupied Palestinian territory, including the Gaza Strip and the West Bank of the Jordan River. For 9 months now, the Israeli operation in Gaza has been ongoing. In this time, more than 37,500 Palestinians have been killed. Most are women and children. The number of wounded has surpassed 86,000 people. There are tens of thousands of people who are missing. More than 1,500 Israelis and foreigners have also died, and 120 people continue to be held hostage. In the Strip, the civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and houses, have been almost completely destroyed. The statistics on the West Bank are appalling. Approximately 600 Palestinians have been killed. Approximately 130 are wounded. More than 5,000 have been wounded. The former are children. As a result of Israeli security raids over the past 24 hours, at least 20 Palestinians have been detained. According to the data from the Palestinian Commission on Detainee Affairs, since 7 October 2023 on the West Bank, 9,345 people were arrested. In parallel, on the occupied Palestinian lands, new Israeli settlements are continuing to be erected. Local residents are being evicted from their homes under the pretext of lacking permits issued by the occupying power. What appears horrifically cynical is the following situation. Palestinians are being forced to themselves demolish their homes in order not to have to pay the costly levies for this to the Israeli construction workers. The magnitude of violence by the radical Israeli settlers, as well as their complete impunity, are shocking. In response to the killing of a 14-year-old Israeli boy from Malachei Shalom, despite the fact that the alleged criminal was swiftly detained, angry mobs of settlers burned down 37 villages. They killed 4 people and wounded another 91 Palestinians. What is most horrific is the fact that this lawlessness was being perpetrated in full sight of the law enforcement officers. This all illustrates the vicious cycle of violence on the occupied Palestinian territory, which inevitably fuels radicalization on both sides. There is only one solution, namely to root out the culture of impunity and end the illegal occupation of Palestinian territory. Turning to the operation in Rafah, all members of the Security Council talked about the unacceptability of this, and yet, alas, it is going forth full steam ahead. Resolution 2735 about some kind of a deal, the result of which should have been a ceasefire. Oh, this at least was what the U.S. authors alleged or proposed, is not working. What has been sold to the Council in the guise of a solution for saving Gaza, this kind of a cat in a sack, as we warned, turned out to be dead letter. What is even worse, in the resolution of the Security Council, a blatant lie crept in. There is it is explicitly stated therein that Israel consented to the peace proposal of the international mediators. However, in West Jerusalem, this has not yet been confirmed. They at the same time announcing the decisive intent to completely destroy Hamas. Ultimately, none of the phases stipulated in Resolution 2735 has been implemented. The Council essentially was blindly dragged into a misadventure and moved towards blessing a scheme which from the get-go had no chances of being implemented. We urge the membership of the Security Council moving forward to adopt a more conscientious approach to those decisions which they support and to give thought to their actual content. The bleakest scenarios regarding the consequences for civilians of the Rafah invasion were borne out. In an attempt to reach to the Hamas commanders, Israelis rained down indiscriminate strikes on refugee camps, and this resulted in heavy civilian casualties. We all recall the devastating IDF airstrike targeting Tal al-Sultan in Rafah on 26 May, when 45 Palestinians died at the same time. And only 2 days before then, the International Court of Justice handed down the third ruling on provisional measures with a demand for the Israelis to end the military operation in Rafah. This was another blatant demonstration of Israelis' egregious violation of Security Council resolutions, General Assembly resolutions, ICJ rulings, the norms of international humanitarian law, including the Geneva Conventions in its capacity as the occupying power. To this, we should add the unbearable living conditions of Palestinians who were evacuated from Rafah. They lack basic shelter and sanitary conditions. They lack access to medicine and drinking water. According to UNRWA, 69% of schools where displaced persons from Gaza sought shelter, 69% of those schools endured and continue to endure daily bombardments. We demand that Israel halt the operation in Rafah. We also call upon all parties to immediately, unconditionally cease fire, release hostages, and the detained Palestinians. Amid intense hostilities, what is absolutely impossible is to provide for safe and sustained access to those in need. Nor can the situation be remedied by what the senior coordinator of the UN Sigrid Kaag launched. I referred to the special humanitarian mechanism for Gaza. The main channel for delivery of assistance through the Rafah crossing and the Kerem Shalom crossing are both closed. Nor has what the Americans erected, the floating pier, nor have the hopes for this been realized. The transportation of cargo was halted against the backdrop of its destruction due to inclement weather. Now is the time, President, to consider how to preempt the recurrence of this escalation of Palestinian-Israeli conflict. There is a need to launch a negotiations process on an equitable basis between the Palestinians and Israelis on the range of final status issues, the result of which will be the establishment of a Palestinian state within the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital, coexisting in peace and security with Israel in accordance with the approved international legal rulings. We believe that the membership of Palestine at the United Nations would help bring this to fruition. In this context, we wish to applaud the decision of a host of Caribbean and European states to recognize the state of Palestine. Thereby, they acted to reaffirm a willingness to redress a historic injustice where one state was granted membership at the UN in 1948 and another state was denied this legitimate right.